Okay, let's dive right in. We're going to tackle the single biggest, most common barrier to getting healthier, that feeling that there's just no time. But what if the solution wasn't about finding more time, but about seeing the time you already have in a completely new light? Does this question hit home for you? I mean, if you look at your calendar and just think, where could I possibly fit in a workout? Then you are definitely in the right place. It's a feeling that stops millions of us before we even start. And look, this isn't just a feeling, it's a global reality. The World Health Organization has found that a full quarter of all adults aren't meeting the most basic recommendations for physical activity. So that feeling of being overwhelmed and short on time, yeah, it's a shared worldwide challenge. But the consequences, they're serious. In fact, a sedentary lifestyle is the fourth leading cause of death across the entire globe. That's a truly staggering statistic. It puts being inactive right up there with other major health risks. Now, this isn't about making you feel guilty, not at all. It's about understanding the stakes. But now let's get to the good news. We are going to reframe this entire problem. So forget trying to find time. We're just going to look at the numbers and discover an incredibly powerful shift in perspective. Okay, let's start with the total pie. Every single week, you have 10,080 minutes. It's a huge number, right? That's the total time budget we all get to work with every 7 days. Now, how much of that do health experts actually say we need to invest? This standard recommendation, which we're going to break down in a second, comes out to about 210 minutes a week. That's combining some moderate aerobic exercise with a couple of strength training sessions. And to a lot of people, 210 minutes sounds like a lot. It sounds like hours you just don't have. But what is 210 minutes out of 10,080? It's just 2%. That's it. This is the crucial point. We're not talking about overhauling your entire life here. We're talking about investing a tiny 2% slice of your week to fundamentally change your health. Let's see what that little investment actually gets you. So, how do we break down that 2%? Let's start with the first part of our investment, aerobic exercise. This is the stuff that gets your heart pumping. So what are we talking about here? Well, aerobic exercise is really any activity that raises your heart rate and makes you breathe a bit harder for a sustained period. Think a brisk walk, a bike ride, dancing around the living room, or even swimming. The great thing about the guidelines is how flexible they are. They call for 150 minutes of moderate activity, like that brisk walk. But if you up the intensity to something vigorous like running, you only need 75 minutes to get the exact same benefit. And what is that benefit? Well, the payoff for this part is huge. A major study found that meeting the aerobic guideline alone is associated with a 29% lower risk of death from any cause compared to being inactive. That is a massive return for just one part of our 2% investment. But we're not done. Let's look at the other critical piece of the puzzle, building strength. This is often the most overlooked part of the equation, but the evidence shows it's absolutely essential. Resistance or strength training is pretty much exactly what it sounds like. It's just making your muscles work against some kind of force. This could be lifting weights, sure, but it could also be using resistance bands or even just using your own body weight with exercises like push-ups and squats. And just look at how little time this actually takes. The recommendations suggest just 2 or 3 short sessions a week, which totals maybe 30 to 60 minutes for the entire week. That's it. It's an incredibly efficient way to build and maintain muscle. Doing just this amount of strength training, all on its own, still yields a really significant benefit, an 11% lower risk of all-cause mortality. It's a smaller reduction than aerobic exercise alone, sure, but it's still a powerful, independent benefit. But this is where the story gets really exciting, because these two types of exercise aren't just independent health strategies. When you put them together, something truly remarkable happens. This is the real core of the 2% solution. This quote, pulled from the research, really says it all. The science is incredibly clear on this. The biggest win, the most powerful protective effect, comes from doing both. And here is the most powerful part of all. The benefit isn't just additive.
You don't just add 29% plus 11%. That is not what happens. Instead, you see this amazing synergistic effect. Combining aerobic and strength training delivers a whopping 40% lower risk of death. It's a return on investment that just dramatically outperforms doing either one alone.
And some studies show an even greater benefit. One analysis of over 500,000 adults found that combining the right amounts of both activities could cut the risk of death from all causes by as much as half. 50%. I mean, that is truly transformative. So, the evidence is overwhelming. The most important point now is how to make this 2% investment fit into your life. And the research offers several flexible, really time-efficient strategies. You do not have to exercise every day. The weekend warrior approach, where you get all 210 minutes in on 1 or 2 days, has been shown to be really effective. For strength, single-set training involves just one intense set per exercise, making sessions incredibly short. Or you could try what some call resistance snacking, breaking up your activity into tiny little 5 or 10-minute bites throughout the day. The best plan is always the one you can actually stick with. So let's bring it all together. The barrier we started with was, I don't have time. The reframe is powerful. It's only 2% of my week. And the return on that tiny investment is staggering, a potential 40 to 50% lower risk of dying from any cause. It completely changes the conversation from a chore to one of the smartest investments you can possibly make. So that leaves just one final question. The clock has already started on your next 10,080 minutes. Knowing the incredible return you can get, how will you choose to invest your 2%?